Testing.
Year 2.
Testing.
Major.
Testing.
Finish the first term. First term. This is October.
Yeah, October. In the first year, this will be the second term, second semester. So end of this second semester, we will be
The first year.
second year's first term.
Second year, first term. Yeah. So these are not French. Second year, first term. And then after this term, they will choose a major. Oh, okay.
I'm Jita.
You are?
Nice to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm the instructor of this course.
Oh,
Yeah, prepare oh, you have this, I think. Yeah,
Just keep it
prepare a
very
slide
short.
to introduce you.
because I've been here. I just realized I've been here 6 times already.
Oh, 6 times already. Okay, that's nice. Yeah.
Oh dear. I think it's set up here,
Oh, you said that. Okay.
but there's no time. It's not. I'll talk more about fintech.
Why not? Yeah. This is school. Yeah, it is school.
Right. They did choose the
Very few. Very few. So basically, they are students in Jan.
yeah. But I was confused when they first got in.
So because most of them they don't have clear understanding of
Choose anything after you have to.
it depends on their GPA. Yes, finance, information, this one.
Second major.
Yeah. So like finance plus 40 plus. That's why they are
IS is more like the major or minor?
both. Yeah, because the labor is very happy. So therefore, if they can use the IS labor,
IS is very popular.
yeah, because of like big data, AI, and also because of finance, of course.
Yeah, I have one slide talking about double skill, right? Dual skill. I think it's like students to pick one business marketing.
Yeah.
And one can
Yeah.
that would be perfect.
Yeah, that's
Both business as well.
Yeah.
That is the best combination.
So one is more like
That's fine.
Yeah.
One vertical, one
Yeah.
horizontal.
yeah, more general.
IT is a general. But do a vertical topic. Business. Focus on the industry.
Yeah. One the money and on the two sides.
Business college.
Yeah.
Was science.
And engineering. Actually, in CMU recently they re-engineered IS is a center. CMU, there's science there.
Yeah, it's the best.
And,
It's the best.
their IS is the center. In terms of their strategy, next 2 years.
Just because they're so good in
Yeah.
in IS already. So they put IS as a center.
Yeah.
So everyone has to
Yeah, to reach out. So basically, it's kind of like next one.
It started this year or
No, it's been like 2 or 3 years ago.
2 or 3 years ago.
2 or 3 years ago. US business schools.
Just like here,
Yeah.
Professor Tam
Yeah.
for the IS.
Yeah.
So I know that we talk to each other. So it's not uncommon now.
Our like senior authority.
It's also IS.
Yeah.
It's a must-have. Some IS IT knowledge needs I work in daytime where I find it so much easier to talk to someone who has some technical understanding. Than a pure business person, no idea how things are done. Okay, they do marketing, they do sales, that's okay. Fun life, fun. Pick one, then understand how things are done.
Yeah.
It's done in a day. Test it, you test it and use it. Maybe a week or 2.
They have some background in terms of programming. So they have this so no matter whether they're from like management, marketing, health, very basic. So
I can assume them to be not so technical background. Many of them, most of them be sort of science students. Secondary,
not science is difficult to science. Yeah.
Actually, there's many of them arts students. So,
Yeah, we talked about blockchain last week.
already.
Yeah.
Oh,
Briefly, just the intuition. Why it's really a better database.
So they understand that concept.
Got concept. Why it is it's better than the traditional database. But if you learn the mathematics, I think that part they were elective course.
You guys talk about like cryptocurrency. I mean,
Because this course is just intro. Each session we will talk about one topic briefly, and then we have that course later on.
I myself, day job, we actually do a fair bit of launched the third series of what we call the NFT. Fungible.
Yeah.
Digital art. That would be another special topic, but it's very interesting. You'll be amazed people actually bid for that. This digital art. What we call digital collectibles.
Yeah, digital collectibles. Yeah, because they have like they will ask for like 20 something.
So then
they
the
have
second class.
they have to come to this platform. Yeah, sure. This would be very helpful because most of them haven't decided their major yet. So, and also the curriculars like their future career, and if they learn something actually that could be the future career paths.
Yeah, as I said, I've done it many years now, and they always said it's very useful, and then I'll do
Yeah,
whatever I
very
can.
helpful. Every year, the student benefits run the speaker from industry.
Yeah, I think that's important to give them an idea how the
Yeah,
world
yeah.
is, how the industry is.
Yeah. And then maybe because some of them in the summer next year, they may do some intern. This will be very helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, but I take interns, 5 or 6 of them every year. So, so it's very important for them.
Yeah,
I got 2 boys, and I got 2 boys myself. During the university years, every summer they go intern, and when they graduate, they get a head start.
Yeah.
They get a head start ahead of the others.
Yeah. Exactly.
Those experience already count.
Yeah.
One of my elder boys is doing law, and for 3 summers he got enough. He got already half of the requirements for practice. Because it's common law system.
I see.
So when he was in Australia, they actually recognize the intern.
Okay.
The 6 months of intern.
That counts.
It counts because Hong Kong is a common law. Common law society.
Yeah.
So the Australian law society actually recognized the Hong Kong practice.
Yeah.
So he already 6 months ahead of the other students. Because they need 1 year, right? 1 year practice to get the license. In Australia. So he already got 6 months. So good.
30%.
Yeah. So he needs to go for another 6 months and then he get qualified as a lawyer. I was quite surprised actually. So intern is very important. No, it's almost a full house. Still people coming. Let's keep a short. Keep a short introduction.
Sure. I just use the text to highlight.
Yeah.
Shall we?
Yeah. Okay.
Hello, everyone. Ready? So today we are very honored to have Mr. Michael Leung. Mr. Michael Leung is the CEO from the BOA International Financial Group, and you'll see a lot of titles. He's very experienced in terms of many backgrounds, and so because you guys from different background, and most of you haven't declared your major yet, so I think you will benefit a lot. And also next year, I think most of you will do some interns. Feel free to ask any questions. So this is a fantastic opportunity for you to engage our fantastic industry speaker. So for the sake of time, I just invite Mr. Leung, and so give us a talk, okay?
Right. You guys can hear me? Yes. Okay. Yeah. Good morning. And I understand this is the second class already this morning. So I hope you are still fresh. And for me, this is the sixth time. This number 6 of me doing this little talk. I've done it for 6 years already. And I went back to my old slides and make a few changes, and I realized this is number 6. So I hope you enjoyed it. In the next hour and a half, I'll go through basically 3 topics. See how this works. Yeah. I'll go through 3 topics, and if time allows, I'll talk about the number 4 as well. The first one is talk about it's going to talk about the IT, how we change the world, information systems or information technology, how it's actually changing the world. I think it's subtly. Most of you, at your age, you wouldn't realize that the sort of degree or the magnitude of change that has happened in the past, 2 or 3 decades. I'll go into that. The second topic, we'll talk about some people, some soft factors about the IT. IT or IS, it's not machines, right? It's not the notebook on your desk or the phone in your pocket. It's not that. It's really people. I've been doing this for 40 odd years now, and it's really the people's business. So I'll talk about people. The second topic. Number 3, I'll talk about how we get ready for all the changes or transformations I touched on in the first topic. How do we get ourselves ready? Okay. If time allows, then I'll go into number 4, some very, very inspiring quotes. Some famous people, or it doesn't have to be famous, but some people who make some very inspiring, very enlightening sort of quotes that I think I'll share with you. I like to collect all these quotes because it's very, very, you wake up in the morning and then you take a look at one of those quotes. By the way, there's an app which is free, right? I think you should install that app and have a look at it every morning, and that keeps you going. It's called Brainy Quotes, right? And every morning you wake up and have a look at this. Probably there's no internet. This apps gives you a very interesting quote every day, and then you can go back to the previous ones. And this Brainy Quote is free and gives you a lot of very interesting saying from the very foresightful people. All right, let me go into the first one. About what? About 200 years ago, we had the steam engines. This is what we used to call the first industrial revolution, right? 工業革命, right? The first 工業革命. The second one brings us to what? The electricity, right? From the steam engine. When I went to university, you guys wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it. And that sort of disclosed my age already, because when I'm a Hong Kong person, and I attended Chinese university, because at my time there's only 2 universities anyway, so it's only Hong Kong U and Chinese U, right? So I joined the Chinese U because I wanted to do electronic engineering, and only Chinese U had electronic engineering. I didn't like the heavy machines thing. I like the lights, radios and recorders and all this television. So I chose light engineering, light what we call light current versus the heavy machine, heavy current. In my time, when I went to the Chinese university, guess what? The train departing from Hong Kong to Ma Liu Shui, right, to Chinese U, that was steam engine, right? The engine is black color. The entire engine, that driving the whole train is steam engine. I remember that very well. When you got through the Lion Rock tunnel, when you came into it, you're clean on your face. When you got out of the tunnel, you're black on your face, right? That's how it was. And then we had electricity, and then the third industrial revolution, we call it what? It's driven by computers. right? By the internet. So we changed the whole world. You know, this is really transforming the whole world. And now we are talking about today the artificial intelligence, talking about big data. Now, you don't really feel these sort of changes because it sort of creep in, you know, every day in your life, right? Things like this, you know, now is what, 13, I think it's called. I think this is 12, but it sort of comes in day by day, and then it's sort of changing the entire world. The other day I was watching the TV, this spectacular display of, you know, lights on the sky, right? With all the patterns and all the beautiful colors lights up the entire sky. Every one of them, every single dot of the light is what? It's a drone, right? And it is programmed in such a way that, you know, the whole sky is full of beautiful patterns and colors. And I happen to be involved in that drone business because you know of DJI, right? 大疆. So I'm very much involved in it. In fact, my brother-in-law was one of the founders of the DJI, right? From this university, from this very same university. And this university was actually the birthplace of DJI, right? And I don't know whether you are aware of it. The entire drone business, which is now 70% market share of the world, Dajiang DJI, was born here, right here in this uni. So with these changes or transformations from the first to the fourth industrial revolution, I rather call intellectual revolutions, we can see all these changes, right? I don't read them one by one, but in my days, in those good old days, we call atomic bomb, right? Very powerful, atomic. Now everything is a E, right? Anything that means anything is E. Email, e-commerce, e-payment, e-anything. You don't go to the shops to buy megabytes this anymore, right? Everything is a terabyte, right? Everything is like gigabytes and terabytes now. So you see all these changes, capital to digital. If you are in banking, I've been in banking for 40 odd years now. In banking, people used to ask me, how big is the bank? And I said, oh, we got, you know, 4 trillion or 4 billions of cash. So we talk about a bank in terms of the size of the capital, right? The size of the capital base, which is the most important for a bank. Without capital, you cannot do lending business. Can I take off my mask? No cameras here, because I don't know why this one keeps falling off. I've double dosed already, so don't worry. We used to talk about banks in terms of the capitals, and these days we don't. When people ask me how big is my bank, I'll say, hey, my bank is 6 inches, right? This is my bank. This is the size of my bank because my entire bank operates out of a phone. You know, you can onboard customers, right? You can open accounts. You can serve the customers entirely on a mobile device. And with this, we don't have to reach only Hong Kong. We can reach the whole world. You know, anyone who has a phone, right? Anywhere in the world can become our customers because I open an account like this, you know, smile, and you know, you have done that, right? There are 8 of them in Hong Kong now. There are more, you know, 8 of those banks who do not require you to go to the branches. This is called the virtual banks, right? The virtual banks in Hong Kong. So this is the size of our bank now. And this is substantial, you know, significant change. We don't talk about the capital so much anymore. We don't talk about how many branches do we have. We used to say, we have 100 branches or 200 branches. Today we say, hey, 6 inch, you know, 5.5 inch. This is the size of our bank. People to robot, place to space, as I said, you know, is now the organization or the bank is everywhere. It's not a physical branch or how many branches anymore. From local to global. In fact, people like us, is sort of live in Hong Kong, and this is the little place we have. Today, I think with the internet, with the devices like this, I really mean what I say. We are the global citizens. We are the global citizens. We can go anywhere. Without physically go there, we can get to know everything around the world. So from local to global, from diligent to intelligent, from industrial to intellectual, those are, substantial changes from the different, mindset in the past, from tangible to intangible, physical to virtual. I just talked about a virtual bank, right? The virtual banks are not required to have any physical presence, right? They are virtual. They are, they don't need any branches. The last one is very interesting. The change or the transformation from facts to faith, right? A lot of the things we do today have never happened before, have never tried before. I talk about the DJI, right? The drone flying all over the place, right? Making all these beautiful patterns and celebrations, etc. When Wang Tao and my brother-in-law first founded it, there was no business model, right? There was no MBA sort of a business plan or anything because it's never done before. Airbnb is another one that I'm associated with. When my nephew started the Airbnb, they just think of, why the hell do I have to book a hotel, right? Why do I have to go and ring up the hotel and reserve a room and all this? There are a lot of rooms around, and why don't we just use it? There's never any business model or any historical data or facts to rely on. Remember? There's no reference. There's never Airbnb before. So a lot of them depends on or rely on the faith. You believe in it. You believe in that this new breakthrough or disruption never happened before, but I believe in it. There are a lot of spare rooms upstairs, in the basement that people don't use. And why don't we free up those resources and let other people book them, make use of the spare resources, sharing economy, right? So that's the Airbnb. So a lot of them are really relying on or counting on the belief. And I encourage you guys, to have the belief, to do something new, not the traditional, conventional things. Try something new at your age. You really have to try something new. Never happened before. Disruptions. I'll get into more of this concept earlier. There's no I'm doing a study myself, but I don't really think that the MBA classes should teach people how to make a 5 years business plan anymore. I mean, do a 3 years business plan or 5 years business plan, that's rubbish to me, right? Firstly, when you do a business plan, you are counting on a lot of historical data, which may not be relevant anymore. And the second is that why about 3 years or even 5 years? The world is changing so rapidly that 3 years is just far too long. You cannot predict anything that is 3 years away, let alone 5 years, right? So in my business, every day is different. Every week is different. You have new challenges. You have new, situations that you have to cope with. So finish the first slide. I call this the digital asset, or what I call the intellectual evolution continuum. We collect a lot of facts, right? Every day, a lot of events, a lot of things happening. There's a huge amount of things happening, events happening, and then we collect a lot of data with all the sensors, all the keyboards, and all the cameras, and microphones and everything. All the devices that capture a lot of things from things happening around you, with all the sensing devices and input devices called. So we have huge amount of data. That's what we call today big data, right? Huge big data. And then we distill the data. We process the data into information. From information, information systems, right? IS. So a lot of information. From the information, the most important transformation happens from information to knowledge. And that is a huge change between these two, right? information itself is not so much useful. It's just huge amount of information, explosion of information. And this is important to change into knowledge. And that is what we are doing today, right? I hope that you collect a lot of information from me, from my experience, and then you process the information into the knowledge that goes into your brain, goes into your mind, goes into your head. That is what you have to do. From knowledge, we distilled it again into intelligence. And that's what we now today call artificial intelligence, right? AI, right? Everyone talks about AI, artificial intelligence. From intelligence to insight. Now I understand how it works. Now I understand why it happens like that. Now I understand why she doesn't like me, right? Or why my mom is not cooking me the dinner tonight. So that's insight into the deep down knowledge of it. That's insight. From insight, I think this is ultimate goal, right? Wisdom. It's very difficult. In the previous years, after the class, some student asked me, what exactly is wisdom? It's very abstract, you know, it's very difficult to understand. But abstract itself, I mean, there are a lot of people. I don't think any human has, only human has wisdom. I don't know whether other animals have wisdom. But the wisdom is to say that, you should, for example, do things at the right time, right? Do the right things at the right time, in the right way. That to me is like, it sounds like wisdom, yeah? Okay, so maybe one day, instead of artificial intelligence, I'll leave it to you guys to develop something called artificial wisdom. That would be the ultimate level of human intelligence, I would say. Now, a bit too long on the first one, but never mind. I'll catch the time. The second slide talks about some technology, and again, because this is for the information systems departments, so I feel a bit obliged to include some of the technologies that I think you more or less have taken for granted. Mobile is everything today. When I started banking, it's branch, right? How many branches? And then we have what? We have telephone, right? And then we have phone banking, right? You use the phone to do banking. And then we have internet banking, right? Where we use the browser. We use the browser, the big screen, to do banking. Today, I dare say, we don't do any of this anymore. In fact, when we have a new product or a new service, not only in banking, in many other industries, the first thing we think of is, how do I deliver these new products or new services on the phone, right? So I'm moving towards more like mobile only. A lot of the things, a lot of the services today, you cannot even get it on your, on your laptop, on your notebook in front of you, because only this little device has all the 6 or maybe even 7 major input devices, input sensors. Your notebook cannot shake it. I can shake it. Shake payment is one of the key features in my bank. 2 of you, after a game of golf, for example, okay, 4 of us, and then 4 of us go around and then we shake. And then we pay each other, right? Facial, touch, all these sensors, microphone, all these are 7 sensing input that only the phone can have. And then we are making use of these input sensors to deliver our service. Can you do it on a notebook? You cannot, right? You cannot do that. So we are moving towards mobile only. We talk about IoT, Internet of Things. Today we talk about AIoT, right? Artificial intelligence of things, AIoT, right? We talk about social media, which I think is no-brainer now. I mean, everybody uses social media, from the Facebook and Instagram and everything. All these things behind it is technology, is IT or IS, cloud services, I don't know. I lost count of how many terabytes or gigabytes I have on the iCloud. I keep just paying money. It's small money anyway. So I keep adding, capacity to my iCloud account. I lost track, to be honest. Nobody deletes anything anymore, right? In the past, when I was still in the megabyte age, I was so conscious that I had to delete some photos from time to time, right? Because I run out of storage space. Today, I don't even bother anymore. Would you still bother to clean up your photo album? I don't think so. We don't care anymore, right? I have a huge amount of photos from my travels and from business everywhere. So it's just the cloud. It's on the cloud. It's on the iCloud in my case. Right? I don't clean up the things anymore. All the documents just dump there. All my photos, and the whole world has really changed. I mean, people like me who can feel it very, very strongly. But I still have to count my photos and delete the ones that I don't keep. And today I don't do that anymore. And I talked about big data already. With so many sensors, so many cameras, so many, IoT, right? Internet of Things. So every day we're collecting so much data in our day-to-day life. And the question is, remember the continuum. How do we change from data to information, to knowledge, to insight, and to wisdom? So that's the question. Collecting data is not a problem. It's how we make use of the data. That is the challenge. And with the data, because it's so big, now listen carefully, because the data is so much, you cannot handle the big data by human brains anymore. It's so massive amount of data. So what do we need? We need AI, right? We need artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is to solve the problem of massive amount of data. The machines process the data, not your human brains anymore. Forget about it. You can't do it. We have to train the machines with AI to process the big data. So AI is the solution. AI is the solution to big data problem. And of course, with AI, we have robots. I think you can already guess that, because all these things happening because of three very major breakthroughs. A bit of technology, and I understand most of you are not coming from the tech stream. But if you think about it, stop for one moment and think about it. Why all these things could happen? Because of these three things, right? Because the computing power is so much faster, right? In the old days, the machine is so slow. Today it's so fast. I mean, a little thing like this is more powerful, it's 100 times more powerful. This little phone, hundreds times more powerful than that little thing still flying to Mars, right? Right? That Voyager launch, decades ago, still roaming around, has so little power, has maybe 1/100th of the processing power of this little phone. So the processing power has increased hundreds times. Storage, already talked about it, it's now terabytes, right? It's not, it's not megabytes anymore. You go to Golden Shopping Center and say, I want to buy a megabyte, stick, they laugh at you. So it's terabytes. And the bandwidth, now it's 5G, right? Now it's 5G. It's almost like, you can never use that much bandwidth. So the network transmission is so much faster. And all these are making the things like cloud computing and big data possible. Another one I want to show you is this one, a bit more vertical, a bit more sort of an industry related. I think you must have heard of things like APIs, which is very important. The interface between programs, right, between applications, using now industry standard APIs. In banking, in the banking world, in Hong Kong, banks can now talk to each other or talking to the fintech startups using APIs, standard APIs. And I'm one of the original designer of that with the HKMA. So in the past, guess what? Banks closes their door, right? The banks, they don't let data go out of their own, territory. Banks are extremely conservative. They don't let your data, customers' data, going anywhere outside of their own boundaries. Today with APIs, banks can now share data, customer data and transaction data across multiple banks. And that is a breakthrough. Never happened before, never dreamed of before, never thought of before, that data of the customers or their transactions can leave the bank to another bank, to the fintech startups from Cyberport or from Science Park. And that is through the standard API with the necessary security provisions, security features. Blockchain, I think you've heard of it, 區塊鏈, and that's very important. Digital ledger, distributed ledger technology. I just learned that you had a little touch on that in the previous class, so I'll skip that. It's very important. A lot of the things that we do today, I'm setting up a new bank in Kazakhstan, in the Central Asia, and it will start running mid next year. It's a brand new bank, and it's doing supply chain, logistic financing. Now, when you talk about supply chain, you have the manufacturer all the way to the consumer, right? From the factory all the way to the consumer. A notebook, right? Apple, whatever. And that goes across a lot of different stages, different stakeholders, supply chain, it's like a chain. And this bank that I'm founding, I'm setting up brand new, will be entirely blockchain based. Will be entirely blockchain based because it's really using blockchain to track the entire financing from manufacturer to the end consumer. In the middle, you have all the logistics companies, you have the retailers, you have the wholesalers, you have the freight, the shipping companies. All these parties that involve in the entire supply chain will be tied together using blockchain. And that's the new bank that I'm setting up. So that's blockchain. Unfortunately, or fortunately, one of the first application of blockchain is crypto, Bitcoins, right? 比特幣. And that happens to be the way it is. And I must say that blockchain is innocent because blockchain itself is innocent because it's just a technology that can do many things. And like what I did for the supply chain financing. And however, crypto is one thing that we do as well. I'm involved in a heavy project called NFT, right? Non-fungible tokens. And we have minted the third series of NFT already, digital art, digital collectibles. So that's what we are doing. And that's entirely based on blockchain and smart contract. And it's traded using cryptocurrencies, using stable coins, for example. So the top three, blockchain, crypto, non-fungible tokens or tokens development in the world. Cognitive computing. It's not me, right? It's the lady behind me. UX, CX, customer experience, user experience. I don't know how many R's are there now. You have virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, enhanced reality. What's XR? Extended realities. Extended realities. This is called wearables, right? This is called, what you have is portables, portable computers. And this is what? This is sort of a portable as well. Goggles and watches, and those are wearables. This brings you a completely new experience, isn't it? You can talk to it, you can touch it, you can do almost all the things with it. There are people asking me, what will come after wearable? What will come after this device? This little watch. What will be the next interface? Human with computer. This is computer. Anyone's guess? What will come after this as an interface with the computer world? This is AI almost, right? Because you can recognize your face and everything. I answered that question in one of the years. I don't remember which year. I said I can't think of a better name to what comes after wearables, but I would call it something like forgettables. Why do I say that? Why is it forgettables? Because you know, every morning when I wake up, get out of bed, I still have to put this on, right? I still have to bring it with me. I have to put it on, which is take a bit of an effort, you know, to really put it on. I think in the next generation of human interface with the machines will be something that it comes so natural with you. You don't have to remember it anymore. You don't have to put an effort to put it on anymore. It's forgettable. You know, you can forget about it because it comes naturally. It comes so naturally with you. Yeah, I can't think of a better name. I call it forgettables. How would that be? Or maybe it's already something that you like your clothes. You know, you don't forget to put on your clothes, right? I mean, of course, we put on your clothes. So something so natural. So when you put on your clothes, the device already come together with your clothes. Now, I wouldn't go as far as to like a dog, you know, or cat that is sort of a pin into your ear, and then you know that you sort of get the chip into your neck. I don't go that far, but I mean it may happen. But something that you never have to you never have to remember that anymore. That may be the device in the future. Maybe the future device, you just do it like this, and you're already keying something when you swing. Or maybe it's already plugged into your brain that when you think. When you just think about it, then it's already captured by the computer. Your brain wave, you know, your brain wave, your biological micro electricity that already get captured by the computer. Your little micro wave, you know, micro electro. Cyber security and all this is very important. I don't have time to talk about it anymore. I better move faster. 3Ds. Disruption, displacement, disintermediation is what we are seeing these days. Like banking, my time, guess what? When I travel, we haven't traveled for 2 years already. But when I travel, I remember when I was your age, you know, when I wanted to travel, of course, I mean, the plane is like 707 and all this, but you don't even know what is 707 because it's too old. But the first thing, one of the first things we had to do is to what? Is to go and buy something called traveler's checks, right? You may have heard of traveler's checks. That's one of the first things we have to do. Pay Hong Kong dollars and get a stack of like checkbooks, you know, that is called traveler's checks from Thomas Cook or from American Express. So those are the traveler's checks that we bring with you and go to cash the local currency wherever we travel. Those are gone, right? Those are completely gone. I mean, nobody heard of traveler's checks anymore. This is one of the very classic examples that I can think of. So a lot of things are being displaced, being disrupted. Airbnb, you know, Dajiang, DJI, you know, Uber, those are all disruptions, disrupting the hotel industry, disrupting the taxi industry, and this intermediation is also happening. My two boys, well, they are 30 odd years old now, but when they travel, do they go to the bank to do currency exchange? When they need to go to Canada or the US, they need to get some US dollar or Canadian money, Australian money. No. They don't go to Hang Seng Bank. You know, I went to Hang Seng Bank. I used to go to Hang Seng Bank to change money. They don't do that anymore. They go to the MTR station, right? They go to the MTR station. They go under the CCTV camera in the ATM lobby. What do? They exchange money with the peer, right? With another guy who has stacks of US dollars. So my boys, my son gave him Hong Kong dollar, and the guy gave him US dollars. Peer-to-peer foreign exchange. One of the many examples. And why did they go to the MTR? Because it's got a camera there. They go to the ATM lobby where there's got a camera. So they can, in case anything happens, they can see each other. You know, they swap money. Things like that. So all these things are happening. As I said, the API becomes open banking. Banks are now open for the first time. In the past, it's all closed. Banks are all close. They don't talk to each other. They are competitors. They are competing fiercely. Today, they're open banking with the API, with the standard API, the data, your data, with your permission, can be swapped between banks, thanks to the API. Virtual banking, already talked about the 8 of them. Hong Kong is one of the leaders in virtual bankings now. I don't know you, but I have 6 of those 8 banks, in my little phone here. I've opened accounts with 6 of the 8 virtual banks, and then I found them very helpful, very useful. I don't have to go to their branches. They have no branches anyway. So virtual banking, digital asset, I talk about cryptocurrency, I talk about blockchains, I talk about non-fungible tokens and NFTs, and sharing economy. I already touched on that, like Airbnb, Uber. A lot of those new things that you see every day are actually sharing economy. Now, this is the last slide, I think. Before I move on to the second topic, I just touch on it. I mean, next year, I'm not going to use this slide anymore because it's changing. But I remember 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when I first did that slide, it was really like that. Hong Kong, for example, we are still very much a cash society. Although, thanks to the consumer voucher scheme, people get $5,000. People start using the electronic money, electronic wallet. Even my mom, she has now an electronic wallet, right? She's 103 years old. And that's my mom, right? But she had to have an electronic wallet because she's still entitled to use the $5,000 voucher. And there's no other means for her to use that 5,000. So people are now being forced into using electronic wallets, or at least an octopus, right? So Hong Kong is fast becoming less and less cash society, thanks to schemes like that. People are getting used to without cash. But, I must say, even 2 years ago, everything is still cash, right? You go to the wet market, buying veggie is still cash. You go to you hop onto a taxi, you still have to pay cash to the taxi, right? You go and buy, many things, you still take only cash. Plastic, so much plastic, so many plastic, especially the ladies, how many plastic cards have you got in your handbag? My wife has got at least 10 of them, They have so many plastic membership cards and octopus, at least 1 or 2 octopus cards and credit cards and debit cards and ATM cards, and still plastic. Unfortunately, a lot of plastics consumed in our wallets, in our handbags. A lot of checks still around. You'll be surprised. We in banking. My wife is still drawing checks to pay for the Filipino maids. She's still using checks to pay for a lot of electricity and all these things. I sometimes wonder, when you have all the e-payments and e-wallets, why are still people using checks, paper checks? You know how to draw a check, the payee, the amount, the sign, the date, and all these things. It hasn't dropped. You will be surprised that with all these electronic channels, why people still drawing checks. We in banking, we know very well that the amount of checks that is got clear every day hasn't dropped. Still a lot of checks. Face to face, as I said, when you go to open an account, most of the banks in Hong Kong still require you to go to the branch, right? And show them your ID card, your address proof, maybe your income proof and everything. So majority of the banks are still requiring face to face, especially for company accounts. Yeah, for company accounts, you have to use that. So unfortunately, face to face is still the norm. WhatsApp is unfortunate, I must say. I don't know. I mean, I don't know why we chose I'm a Hong Kong guy, so I don't know how we end up with WhatsApp. Whereas the rest of the world, like just cross the border to China, they use WeChat. WeChat can do many, many things. It's a multifunctional platform. You can do WeChat banking, WeChat payment, WeChat everything, booking everything. It actually carries a transaction safely. Unfortunately, WhatsApp cannot do. Have you ever heard of WhatsApp banking? I haven't. I mean, have you heard of WhatsApp payment? I don't know why Facebook bought it, but to me, it's good, but it's not good enough. So we stuck with WhatsApp. We stuck with WhatsApp, right? When we get this consumer voucher, $5,000, I wish one day we could simply just put the $5,000 in the WhatsApp that we use every day, and then pay each other and pay my grocery with the WhatsApp payment. Not there yet. So we end up with Octopus, Alipay, WeChat Pay, and what's the fourth one? Tap and Go. Yeah. So we didn't have a choice of using WhatsApp to do the payment every day. And then HSBC got the advantage and launched the what? Pay Me, right? And so we stuck with WhatsApp. Single versus multiple function platform. Regulation is another thing that Hong Kong so happened that I think it's good old tradition where the regulator in the banking world is HKMA, right? Hong Kong Monetary Authority. Very, very conservative. I mean, I'm sure they're not here, so I can say a bit louder. They're very, very conservative. I mean, very risk averse, very, very risk averse, and they don't want to take any risk. So regulation is one of the negative forces that is pulling Hong Kong's leg. Okay, so a lot of risk averse, and that's the problem for Hong Kong in particular. But these are changing, as I said. We are using less and less cash now, and I hope that with things like this, I don't have to carry so many plastics in my pocket anymore. So many plastic cards, etc. So less plastic cards, less cash, less physical contacts because of the virtual bank. So this is more like a fun little jokes slide, a little funny slide. What dies first? The battery, right? That's the problem. How was the book? Who died in the end? The battery. This little zipper upgrade, man. You have to do QR code instead of barcode these days. But a lot of things are less, paperless, wireless, contactless, cashless, cardless, branchless, screenless. How is screenless, by the way? Screenless. I don't understand that thing. You still have to have a screen, but I think there are some interface now that can go without the physical screen. Less screen, I think. Humanless, timeless, borderless, effortless, seamless, maybe bankless. Maybe one day you don't need a bank anymore in my industry. I move on. Now, as I said, technology is a people business. This sort of notebooks you have on your desk is becoming just commodities. Apple doesn't differ. It's not different from HP or any other brand. Not that much anymore. They are just pure commodities. What makes the difference? What makes the difference to each of these different brands of notebook is the software that is sitting in your notebook, or the data that is sitting in your notebook. And who make those software? Who generates those data? People, right? So can't leave home without it, without IT. On the demand side, because this class is to give you an idea how important is IT or IS, right? And I hope that you choose IS, information systems, as one of your subjects, one of your major or minor. So the demand is huge. I'm a banker. I'm a CEO of a bank. I know. I came from the IT side. A bank like mine, Bank of Asia, cannot run without IT. The bank will stop. Remember, you may have heard of your parents, your mom and dad telling you, if they were in this sort of industry, that we used to have a thing called offline mode. If you heard of this term called offline mode, what it means is that if the computer is down for whatever reason, the power is off, no electricity, it's a fire or something. So we switch the bank from an online mode, 连线, online mode, to what we call offline mode, where people start doing the good old tricks, using a calculator, using pen and paper, And that's what's called offline banking, offline mode. Not anymore. Nobody talks about offline mode anymore. if the computer is down, the bank is finished. The bank is stopped. You know, the stock market stopped. You know, imagine the stock market, no power, no computer, the stock market stops. So offline mode is history. So there's a lot of demand for IT people, IT software, IT data. So the pie is getting bigger. And on the supply side, unfortunately, on what we felt is that you heard of this thing called internet bubble some 15, 16 years ago. So we are dying for people with something like 16 years experience, a bit of a middle management skills. And those are people generating a lot of new projects, a lot of new businesses. And that is what we still feel the pain of the internet bubble up till today. And the third thing, so the pie is getting bigger. The shortage of middle management is felt. And the third thing is that a lot of jobs are here in Hong Kong. Your parent, your mom and dad may have told you, don't do IT, don't do IS because, you know, there's no more jobs in Hong Kong like that. No, that's wrong. I can tell you categorically wrong. A lot of jobs still remain in Hong Kong. Now, I just talk about stock market, for example. I can tell you every single program that deals with the stock market in Hong Kong, the trading program, you know, the program on your handphone to do stock market trading. I don't know how many of you actually trade stocks. Every single piece of line, every single line of code is built in Hong Kong, because stock market is very different, you know, from place to place. It's very local. The way that Hong Kong stock market trades is very different from the one in Singapore or in China, very different. All the banks in Hong Kong, the stock market to the securities trading, stock trading programs or the system is built in Hong Kong, developed and built in Hong Kong for sure. You cannot buy a package from America and store in Hong Kong and trade stocks. You can't do that because the settlement, the trading is different. In Hong Kong, it's T+2 and all this, very different. So a lot of jobs are still in Hong Kong. So some of the boring jobs, you know, operation, cutting the basic code may be offshore, but a lot of design and infrastructure, integration, implementation stays in Hong Kong. So in Hong Kong, there's a huge demand. Don't believe in all this rubbish of saying, oh, no more IT jobs in Hong Kong. In fact, there is, on the contrary, there's a severe shortage of IT people in Hong Kong. I'll get to that in the next slide. So a lot of jobs in Hong Kong. The example, one of the many examples like stock market systems, securities trading systems, stays in Hong Kong. And besides all these major traditional industries like banking, there are a lot of new opportunities like social, mobile, cloud, etc. I'll get to that more. In fact, I did already talk about those new technologies, you know, like mobile and cloud, etc. Those have generated a lot of new opportunities. Look at the Science Park or Cyberport. You know, I happen to be the judge, the chief judge of most of these fintech awards, and the amount of new ideas from these new technologies like big data, cloud, IoT, is just humongous, just huge number of ideas. Every year, Science Park or Cyberport, for example, receive hundreds of applications for the new fundings from Cyberport. You know, I have been the chief judge, and I'm still the chief judge on many of these awards, and $500,000, you know, $500,000 for each of the successful applicants for the Cyberport incubation program, right? The CIP program. And those startups get $500,000 from the taxpayers, and they need a lot of people, you know, to help them make those things happen, you know, make the dream happen. Those startups, you know, fintech startups and any startup. You know, for so many years, I've come across so many startup ideas, and from selling handbags to making satellites. I mean, it's just amazing the amount of innovations or creativities in Hong Kong, 7 million people. It's just quite impressive. So a lot of jobs coming up from those startup enterprise or startup businesses. Talent is a shortage. I think I can skip that. I already touched on many of this. The value propositions. A lot of local software needs to go overseas. A lot of regional or global software needs to be localized. Implementation. Now I'll get to this business IT knowledge skill. I call it double skills, dual skill. Very important. I just touched on that earlier. A lot of high value jobs still in Hong Kong. Innovation I already touched on because all the startup, the entire startup community, innovation community in Cyberport or Science Park is quite impressive. Cross-border collaboration, software advantage. Maybe I should elaborate on that. What do I mean by software advantage? Now, you guys don't feel that, I guess, but I do. Hong Kong is one of the very, very few places, very few places on earth that has got this advantage. We are like, between the East and the West, like the China and the rest of the world. Our passport can travel the world. I have teams in China. When there's something happening in Malaysia or anywhere, Thailand or Singapore, or farther away in the Middle East or Kazakhstan, the new bank I'm setting up in Central Asia. Can I send the Chinese team there? Cannot. When something urgent, something happening, I need to really get it solved. I can only send people from Hong Kong. Why? They can travel. They have a passport in their hands that they can let them travel everywhere. One of the many, many factors. And the language factor is also very important. So we speak Cantonese, we speak Mandarin, but also must make sure you speak the English very well, right? This is another software advantage, right? And I study, my whole life is Chinese. Chinese primary school, Chinese high school, Chinese university. My entire life is Chinese educated. But then you have to enhance your software advantage. Study the business subject, study the IT or IS subject, and make the best use of the advantage you have in Hong Kong, such as your language, such as your travel document, such as your reach to the world. We can see almost everything in the world, right? There's no sanction, there's no embargo on anything in Hong Kong, not as yet, at least, hopefully never. We can go to Facebook, we can go to Instagram, we can go to Twitter, we can go to any website in the world. Not everywhere in the world can do that. Remember that, okay? For whatever reason, cross the border to the north, you cannot get to many of the websites in the world. You cannot get onto Instagram or Facebook anymore. So the software advantage is very, very important. Job categories, I used to go through each one of them, but I think today you can see many sort of jobs are popping up, like mobile apps development, cyber security, and ethical hacking. This is a very funny term, ethical hacking. Yes, so in my previous bank, we actually hired some ethical hackers. The red team. The red team to actually try to hack, try to penetrate the bank systems. Testing, data analytics, business analyst, multimedia design. Those are key jobs that that the industry is still hiring, or the industries are still hiring. There's what I call the demand, the demand side. I should perhaps also highlight blockchain as well. A lot of the blockchain jobs are popping up because people start to realize the benefits of using blockchain and crypto. Crypto is important because although China banned crypto, the entire country completely stopped cryptocurrency. But in my mind, it actually has its own benefits. It's just that it's not being managed properly. When you send money to overseas, which I don't think you do that much, but I do. I got my sons in Australia, so I need to send them money. in the past, when I had to send money to Australia to my family members, how do I do that? You go to a bank, right? And they will take down all the details, you know, my bank number, my bank account, and my son's bank account, and then, you know, National Australia Bank, NAB, blah, blah, blah. And then what they do, they send it through SWIFT, right? There's a thing called SWIFT. You may have heard of SWIFT, which is the International Money Transfer Clearing Network. That's how it was done. And they charge you a fee, right? They charge you quite a handsome fee to send money from here to anywhere overseas, any other bank, America, Australia, anywhere. At least they charge you $200 Hong Kong, yeah, to send money to Australia. 200, or maybe sometimes they charge you $300 and take down all the details. With cryptocurrency, it costs you maybe $10, right? And the money goes to Australia. And my son can only go to a crypto exchange, pick up the Bitcoins or stable coins like USDC, USDT, or BUSD. Those are one-to-one stable, supposedly at least. And then it's just a matter of transferring the cryptocurrency from one exchange to another exchange, which costs you what they call the air fee, you know, the gas fee, and they cost you gas fee. You can choose the cheapest one. And then my son in Australia from the digital exchange can then off-ramp, can then change the stable coins, the USDC, for example, back to Australian dollars. And that happens instantly. So SWIFT, the International Money Exchange, Money Settlement Network, is having an urgent sort of a extraordinary general meeting, and to consider how they can uplift the SWIFT services to compete with the cryptocurrencies challenge. Again, in this sort of example, the cryptocurrency is a disruptor, right? It's disrupting the conventional, traditional SWIFT system. Of course, crypto has got its own risk. It's an execution issue. I don't go into that now, but a lot of these jobs are popping up. In major industries, many of us, I started with the Big Four. Yeah, my first job after I graduated, I started with Pricewaterhouse. To me, that was my 少林寺. I don't know how to call it in English, but it's like the first job where it gives you the opportunity to learn a lot of things. You know, when you get into Big Four, you end up becoming a consultant, while you know nothing. But then they put you in front of the client and you start talking like what I'm doing now. And then you got to learn overnight, you know, what the hell I'm going to talk about tomorrow. So it forces me to learn overnight and learn it a step ahead of the client in order to impress the clients that I'm a consultant, you know, I'm a consultant. So the Big Four is a very good a very good first job in my view to really get you going. And then after a few years where when you cannot make a partner, then you leave and then go to the industry, equipped with a lot of knowledge, learn from the Big Four, you know, Pricewaterhouse, you know, KPMG or whatever. A lot of industries, I don't go through them here. It's all these major industries that you find in Hong Kong. Obviously, I wouldn't suggest you to go into, you know, manufacturing, for example. I should leave it out next year. So I don't think there's a lot of manufacturing in Hong Kong, but maybe in China, maybe in Pearl Reef, maybe in the Greater Bay Area. I think you're learning some of this, Python, for example. There's still a lot of .NET there in terms of the actual technical skills. But more, I think you should look into data. Data is everything. When I talk about APIs, when I talk about the open banking, what are we sharing? We're sharing data, yeah, customers' data and transaction data, product data, service data. So data is everything. So try to touch on at least go to one or two of those data related subjects. Okay, at least one, promise. Because when you go into your first job, your employer is going to ask you, what have you learned about data? Okay, remember I talked about facts, data, information, the continuum. Data is the starting point. And then if you can touch on something like AI, machine learning, that would be great. System architecture, IT. Now auditor, CTU, for example, has an IS subject focusing auditing, trying to train auditors, a lot of IT audits and security, IT security audit, etc. Mobile apps, and last but not least, again, blockchain and crypto skills, very important. This is in Chinese, next time I'll do it in English, but this is very important. This is very good because the HKMA has this thing called FCAS. It's a wonderful program. In fact, my previous bank used to take 2 or 3 of them as a full-time. It's a full-time 1 year or half a year program. FCAS stands for FinTech Career Acceleration Scheme. FinTech Career Acceleration Scheme or Accelerator Scheme. Okay, it's 2.0 already. So it has 19 banks or 20 banks now, hiring year 3 or maybe year 4 also as well, students for half a year or 1 year, and you work like the employer, the employees, you work like a staff, in the bank for half a year or 1 year, and you get paid quite handsomely. I dropped that, but it's like, I think I used to pay 16 or 17,000 a month. If it's master's student, I think we paid 19,000 a month during the 1 year. And if you're doing well, right, guess what? After you graduate, you get a job, right? They'll keep you, they'll get you back after this FCAS 1 year. And sorry, it's in Chinese, but it accepts HSBC, Standard Charter, they all joined that. Of the 20 banks, many of them are big banks. So I encourage you to look into this FCAS program, and you can spend a year or at least half a year, and the chance of getting a job after that 1 year or half a year is much higher. This is just Chinese media saying how good the Chinese market, the IT market is. This is new. This is only a couple of weeks old. You can see that the the graduates position increases 18%, for IS talents. The first 4 months this year, the vacancy is 3,410. I don't know, it doesn't have to be that accurate, but it's thousands of vacancies in the job market for IS people, right? That's the first 4 months of a job vacancies in the market. And the annual increase is 52%. So that proves, that testifies what I said earlier. Don't believe in all this rubbish saying, the IT jobs are gone, they all go to Malaysia or Pearl River or China, Shenzhen or whatever. That's not true. Absolutely not true. The demand for IT people is on the rise. Okay, those are all rubbish. Don't believe in it. I felt that myself. So difficult to find people. And I don't think there's any unemployment per se for ITIS students. I don't believe it. Unless you are absolute rubbish, unless you are absolute rubbish. You can't even spell what is AI. I mean, then forget it, But if you can, and you can write a little bit of Pythons, then you'd get a job. If you cannot find a job, come to me. I find you a job. I've been 40-odd years in this game, so I know exactly how it's like. So after I retire, I think I'll start an employment recruitment agency. Job market outlook. I think I can skip that because it's just good. All right, let me move to the. I got this. This is a bit out of the. But this is more general. Okay, I'd like to just share with you how do you get yourself prepared for the new challenge, with all this big data and AI and whatnot, the transformation, the changes that we are seeing. So how do you get yourself ready for it? Now, these two slides are a bit general, but you can see some of the key. Now, curious is very important. Open mind is very important. Yeah. When so many things are new, the last thing you should do is say, "Hey, I sit like this." When I get people coming in for a job interview, right? When someone comes into my office and apply for a job, and the first thing I observe is how he or she sits. Okay, that's the first thing I ever observe. Now, even here, looking up on the on the roles, I can see different of you, right? I can see that. So which one of you I'll hire, which one I don't hire, I know. When people come in and sit like this, I'm not going to hire that guy, right? You have to put your hands like this, you sit with an open gesture, an open mind, ready for the question, ready for any challenge. Not like this. Listening, communications, as I said, good in communication, express yourself, all right? Be able to convey your message in Chinese, Cantonese, English, whatever, very important. Listening, open mind, curious. As I said, don't just do accounting. Don't just do global business, don't just do marketing. Try to do another subject that is related to IT, because that is the language of the future. I used to say accounting is the language of business. Yeah, those of you a little older heard of this phrase, saying accounting is the language of the business. So by all means, take 1 or 2 accounting subjects. I agree. I fully agree. If you can, take 1 or 2 accounting subjects. Listen carefully. But at the same time, IT today, perhaps even more important as a business language than accounting. So do at least 1 or 2 ITs, if not going for a major or minor subject. You have to have technology savviness. I hate talking to these people who are completely outside of technology. Oh, Michael, sorry, Michael, I don't understand technology. I hate talking to those people. Okay? Oh, I know nothing about technology. I'm a complete idiot on technology. Go away, okay? I don't want to talk to you. Have you come across those people? I hope you're not one of those. Coming to my office saying, I'm a complete idiot on IT. I'm a complete idiot on technology. Oh, I don't even know how to press that button. I don't even dare to press that button. I said, come on, try. It won't explode. It's not a bomb. Just play with it. When people think of this as a tool, 工具, when people think of this simply as a tool, T-O-O-L, I don't hire those people. They take this as a 工具, 工具. I hire those who take this, or the 13, right? The new one, 13, as a what? As a toy, T-O-Y, 玩具, 玩具. Then I hire those. Yeah? It's not a 工具, it's a 玩具. As a toy, what do you do with it? You play with it, you explore it. You want to find out what's the difference between Model 13 and Model 12, right? What sort of new functions and features are here? What sort of things I can do more with these new toys that I bought? Take this as a toy to play with, to explore, instead of a 工具 to keep watching your good old 劇集, watching your good old, YouTube. That's useless. Don't waste your time buying a new model in that case. Just stick with the old one then, because this one can watch YouTube as much as you like already. So tech savviness is very important. Okay, take this as a toy to play, to explore, not just to use and watch your good old 無線劇集, TVB soap opera. Okay. Good instinct. Yeah, I talk about instinct, gut feel. I talk about faith. Remember? I talk about faith. I talk about gut feel. Airbnb never happened before. So go for it if you believe in it. So it's your instinct. Okay. In 15 minutes, I finish. These are additional traits, professional traits, professional characters that I encourage you to go to acquire. Of course, if you get all these 22 of them, you are perfect, you know, but nobody is perfect. I'm not perfect. So there's a lot of things that you have to catch up, but those are important professional attributes that I would like to share with you. I already mentioned this. Instead of just doing an accounting or marketing or global business or whatever, then try to get an IT, get a technical appreciation, technical savviness. So this is what we call today double-skilled professionals. So nobody can, I hope you will never say things like, oh, I'm an IT idiot. Don't say that, okay? You have to learn how to use IT. The best is you learn how to, you know how things work, you know how Python is written, how to set up a simple Python program, for example, which is very important. I do all my research using Python, right? The open library is so rich. You know, when you talk about AI, oh, very difficult, you know? Most 99% of my colleagues at work will say, Michael, I don't understand anything about artificial intelligence. You know, talk to me about neural networks, you know, decision trees, you know, random forest. I mean, they'll scare. I said, no, actually listen to me. I'll show you. In fact, you don't need to understand how decision tree actually written. You don't write a decision tree program anymore or neural network program anymore. You know, you have CNN and RNN and, you know, recurrent neural networks and convolutional neural networks, so many of them. But you don't have to do that. I said, listen to me. There are libraries of all these AI functions that you can call with using Python, right? Those are public open domain, you know, open source programs. So listen, you don't have to learn how to write the neural network programs. You just call with the necessary matrix or data, and then you can get a result. Isn't that wonderful? Of course, you learn a bit about the activation functions and all these things, you know, the sigmoids and all these things, a little bit of it, but it's so easy. So you need to be double skilled. Business focus with IT appreciation or IT knowledge. I wrap up with a few 4-letter words. I like to collect a lot of them. They are very easy to remember. You don't have to be a PhD to understand them, but they are very, very important. The first one I'd like to share with you is core. In business, we call things like core competency, core subjects, whatever. But I interpret core in a slightly different ways. In a slightly different way, the C stands for curiosity or creativity. Now, in today, when we talk about fintech, when we talk about, you know, technology and startups and all the disruptions and displacements and disintermediations and all these things happening, the first thing you have to have, every one of you, be curious. You know, when you get a new gadget, like this, be curious. What more can I use it for? You know, what new functions and features are there? The second one is open mind. Again, as I said, don't sit like that, please. Okay, sit with your arms open. Sit in a posture where you are prepared for new questions and new challenges. Open-mindedness, optimism, risk. When you do something new, guess what? You may fail. Yeah? Things may go banana when it's new. So my brother-in-law is a serial entrepreneur, and I think out of 100 ventures he paid money, he invested into, I think 90% of them failed. But one worked. DJI, you know, Dajiang, drones, the drones work. So, but he failed badly on many other things. So prepare for the risk. You have to be resilient, you know, to take those failures, you know, to to endure, to withstand those failures. E stands for a lot of things: enthusiasm, energy. Very important. If you don't believe in that thing, don't do it. You know, you have to have the energy. You have to have the passion to go into something. If you want to study IS, information systems, you have to like it. You have to be passionate about it. If you just think of my mom or my dad asked me to do IS, then forget it. Don't try. So you have to believe in it. You have to have the enthusiasm. You have to be enthusiastic to really go for that. And I hope today in my talk, I can instill some enthusiasm in your mind to go for something like IT or IS. Care is another very interesting word. It's a bit soft. I read this from Karen, a lady author. She writes about emotional power. How do you use emotion, the soft factor, like communications, affinity, resolve, emotion, to get things done, right? So E stands for emotion and empathy. Empathy means relating to each other, relating to human, you know, relating to people, empathetical, you know, I understand your situation, I understand your circumstances, and I do whatever I can to help you. That's empathy, okay? Now, this is you don't get it from anywhere in the internet. If you don't remember it, you're your loss because you don't find it in the internet. Success formula, luck. Now, luck, where I'm standing here today is a bit of luck. I've gone through a large part of my life, and I've been a little bit successful, not tremendously. I lost a lot of things myself, but a bit of luck. Luck is very important, like Mark 6, right? I wish I one day could get a first prize and won the millions of dollars. So everybody counts on some sort of luck, but luck, you know, you have to go for it. You have to get ready for it. You know, if you're not ready, you don't get the luck, even when it comes in front of you. But luck, I interpret it in a different ways again, just like core or care. What is L? L-U-C-K. L is locale, location. In Cantonese, it's a very simple saying, very simple phrase. 知定. You know, in Cantonese, a lot of people here say, you don't 知定, they don't 知定. You don't know where you are. You don't know where you belong. If you are as tall as Yao Ming, you know, you are such a tall guy, you know where you belong, right? You can play basketball, you can play volleyball. Don't ever go and try to do weightlifting, right? Forget it. You're such a tall guy, you're not good for weightlifting, just for example. So go and play basketball, right? That's where you belong, the basketball court. In Hong Kong, I just mentioned I would not include manufacturing anymore in the job category next year, because there's no manufacturing here. So in Hong Kong, when you think I'm going to develop my career in Hong Kong, I'm going to live in Hong Kong, I'm going to develop my family in Hong Kong, you know what Hong Kong is about. What is it? Service industry, right? Banking and finance, right? Tourism, etc., etc. So those are the core industries in Hong Kong. So learn something about that industry. So 知定, you know, locale, know where you belong. U is what? Understanding. Once you know where you belong, you need to know the name of the game, right? How the game is played in Hong Kong, for example. So go and get some understanding. When you play basketball, you get to know the rule of the basketball, you know, how to play basketball. You understand the rule of the game. Very important. You know, when it's weightlifting, you're a heavy guy, then you know the game, how to do that weightlifting. That's very important. C is what? C is connections, contacts, communications. There's a lot of words for C. Connections in China is called 关系, 关係, you know. You have connection, you have contact, you know how to talk to each other, get advice. K is what? K is knowledge. That's what you're doing here for 4 years, trying to acquire the knowledge, the skills, the knowledge to get things done. If you have U and L and U and C and K, you got it spot on, you got it very good. Add them together, you have a huge number. You have a very, very beautiful profile. You have a very good profile, a lot of beautiful CVs. Your CV, your bio file looks very good. Then the problem is, especially in the service industry, like banking, people believe you, people trust you, right? Why do you put money in the bank? Your savings, money that your parents gave you, or what you earned, is because you trust the bank. You don't trust the bank, you don't put money there. So trust is very important. Honesty is very important. And there's a beautiful word called integrity. Integrity. And that's power I. Now, your primary school mathematics, or high school either, tells you what? If I is 0, if you ever lose your integrity, you lose the trust or confidence of your business people, of your business partner, or your customers. When I is 0, what happened? Any number, no matter how big or small it is, yeah, LUCK, spot on, beautiful. But you raise to power I. When I is 0, it's back to what? When any number raises to power 0, what it is? 1, yeah. It's back to square 1. So don't ever lose your honesty, your integrity, or the trust of the people. So that goes on the top. That's what we call the numerator. This formula suggests that there's a number at the bottom in a denominator. It's called time error. A lot of very successful, highly successful people, what they manage to do is to catch the right time, catch the exact right timing. Li Ka-shing, when I was small, he was one of those, new migrants from China, getting into all the plastic flowers and then all these little businesses. But this guy is very smart, he knows exactly what time to do what, right? So Hong Kong's economy was going up like that, and he was catching every moment of it. Like stock market I talk about, right? Security, stock market. Everybody knows, that you buy at the lowest and sell at the highest. Simple logic. Buy at the low, sell at the high. Can you really get the time error to be 0? Of course not. Even supercomputer may not be able to catch the highest point to sell or get the lowest point to buy, right? So you never get a 0 in terms of time error, but try to reduce the error as much as you can by knowing more, by getting more information, by understanding more, getting more insight, right? Getting more insight of the company. You want to buy Xiaomi, then try to understand more about Xiaomi, get the inside story of Xiaomi. Then you can more correctly, accurately predict the behavior of that or the performance of that company, and then catch the right moment. If time error is 0, what happened at the bottom is 0. What number do you get? Infinity, isn't it? Any number divided by 0 is infinity. But unfortunately, you never get 0. But the more accurate you catch the right moment, then the bigger the success you'll get. So that's the magic formula for success. I don't have time to go through that anymore, but think actively, think big, creatively, differently. Differently is very important. Yeah. Think critically. When people all say yes, you think about it. Is it right? Yeah. Think critically. Just don't look at the media. And that's what happened in the past 2 years in Hong Kong, right? A lot of these fake news, right? A lot of these rumors get spread around. People don't think anymore. People just believe in it. Now, I'm old enough to learn that when everybody is saying the wind is coming from that way. Typical example, Everybody says the sun is rising from where we are. The sun is rising from the east, from the Pacific Ocean. No. The sun could actually rise from the Atlantic Ocean, as long as the Earth is curved like that. In Panama, for example, you go and have a look at the map. In Panama, the sun actually rises from the Atlantic Ocean. Empathetically, I already talked about empathetically. I wrap up with a few quotes. I'll leave you to enjoy these quotes. Some of them are extremely inspiring. 1 minute, yeah? If you can dream it, you can do it. The best way to predict the future is to create it. And I'll leave it to you to create it. Education's purpose is to replace an empty mind with an open one. Open-mindedness. Remember CORE, C-O-R-E? The greatest danger is not that we set our aims too high and we miss it. Yeah, it's just like high jump. You set it too high, then you cannot jump over it. But that's okay. The biggest danger is that you set it too low and you reach it. That is the biggest danger. You set the bar so low, every time you jump over it. So what? You haven't challenged yourself. Some very inspiring ones, right? 你上莊, form all sorts of societies and associations. As a leader, you make people believe in you, right? In him or her. But that's a good leader. People like you. People believe you. What you say, go forward. People go forward with you. That's a good leader. But a great leader makes people believe in themselves, right? They believe in themselves. They know what to do rather than you telling them. Okay? This is a change in the past 2 decades or 3 decades, right? From when I started doing computer science, that was the machines I used. And today we have these sort of machines. Now, I'll leave it to you to think of what comes next, right? After these machines, right? And these are all the successful people that we see today, right? And hopefully, I'll give you some idea today on how IT have changed our world. Okay, thanks a lot. Thank you. Thank you. Good to meet you.
My name is Carmen. And do you mind